Right now, as you settle into this moment, something ancient beyond a measure is spiralling through the darkness between galaxies, carrying fragments of light that died long before our Earth learned to dream. For millions of years it has been falling toward us, and now it is finally close enough to cast shadows on our instruments, one gentle tremor at a time, from the edge of everything we call familiar. Hello there, and welcome to Earth and Beyond, where planetary wonders drift into cosmic dreams, and science takes the scenic route to slumber. Tonight, we're tracing the path of a wanderer from the void, a dark fragment that has drifted across impossible distances to visit our small corner of creation, bringing with it vibrations that should not exist, and thermal signatures that seem to breathe in rhythm with something we have never quite learned to name. The astronomers call it 3i Atlas, but perhaps designations are meant for things that follow rules, and this visitor seems to write its own. Consider something no larger than a small mountain, blacker than ocean depths, colder than the spaces between thoughts, tumbling through a silence so complete that sound itself has never existed there. And yet, this ancient wanderer has begun to warm, not just from our sun's distant touch, but from something deeper, as if remembering how to be alive after eons of dreaming in the cosmic dark. Before we drift into that warming mystery, let me ask you something simple. Where are you tonight? Maybe you are curled in a chair by a window, watching clouds drift across the moon like slow thoughts. Maybe you are lying in bed, with the weight of the day finally dissolving into your pillow. Or maybe you are somewhere between here and elsewhere, in that gentle place where the mind begins to float free from the anchors of daily concern. Wherever you are, imagine for a moment that you could feel the motion we're all part of. Not just the turning of our planet, but the way our entire solar system spirals through space at hundreds of kilometers per second, carrying us on a journey so vast that our whole civilization is just the briefest moment in its unfolding. And somewhere in that cosmic river, 3i Atlas swims alongside us, a fellow traveller that has seen things we can barely imagine. If you find this sort of gentle wandering through deep space peaceful, I would be grateful if you gave the video a like, or perhaps subscribed. It helps this quiet space reach others who might also enjoy drifting through cosmic mysteries at the pace of contemplation. These small gestures matter more than they appear to, especially when we are exploring territories so vast that we could all use reminders that we are sharing the journey. Now then, let us follow that distant warmth back to its source, and discover what story the darkness has been waiting to tell. 3rd of December, 2025. Mount Stromlo Observatory, Canberra, Australia. The southern sky spreads above the research complex like a map of everything humans have yet to understand. The Milky Way so brilliant in the clear air that it seems close enough to touch. In the thermal imaging laboratory, banks of sensors work through the night, measuring the heat signatures of objects so distant and so cold that they barely register above the background temperature of empty space. Dr. Maria Castellanos has not left the lab in 2 days. Coffee cups accumulate on her desk like artifacts of sleepless dedication, surrounded by thermal plots and spectral analyses that tell the story of 3i Atlas in wavelengths of infrared light. She's been tracking the object's thermal evolution since it crossed the orbit of Jupiter, watching as our sun's warmth slowly penetrates layers of ice that have been frozen for geological ages. But something extraordinary began happening 6 weeks ago. 3i Atlas started getting warmer than it should. Not dramatically. The difference is measured in fractions of a degree, changes so subtle that most instruments would miss them entirely. But Maria's thermal arrays are sensitive enough to detect the body heat of a mouse from orbit, and they have been watching 3i Atlas pulse, with temperatures that follow no pattern solar heating should create. Every 4.7 hours, the object's surface warms by exactly 0.3 degrees Celsius for 17 minutes, then returns to baseline, like a heartbeat made of heat, rhythmic and purposeful, and impossible to explain. Maria runs her fingers through her hair, already dishevelled from hours of focused work. The latest thermal pulse occurred at 11:47 in the evening, and she has been analysing the data ever since. Traditional physics says the warming should be random, driven by the chaotic process of ice sublimating in the vacuum of space, But this pattern suggests something else entirely. Internal heat generation following a clock that has been keeping time across interstellar space. On her largest monitor, the thermal signature of 3I Atlas glows like an ember in the cosmic dark. The object is still more than 300 million kilometers away, but the heat patterns are so regular that her analysis software initially flagged them as equipment malfunction. Only after triple-checking every sensor, every calibration, every possible source of error, did Maria accept that what she was seeing was real. 3I Atlas is not just reflecting our sun's warmth, it is generating its own. She reaches for her satellite phone to contact Dr. Yuki Tanaka at the Institute for Space Science in Tokyo, then pauses. Yuki has been coordinating observations from 7 different observatories across 3 continents, and their last conversation ended with his gentle suggestion that Maria should perhaps consider getting some sleep before the data begins to dream for you. But this discovery might justify another sleepless night. Maria looks at the thermal curves again, watching as the warmth radiates outward from what appears to be the object's core, following patterns that remind her of something organic, something alive. The heating is not uniform across 3I Atlas's surface. Instead, it follows pathways, channels that spiral around the object like the circulation system of some vast, dark organism. When Maria applies false colour imaging to enhance the contrast, the thermal pattern looks remarkably like neural pathways firing in slow motion, or the vascular system of a creature designed to survive in the absolute cold of space. Outside the lab, the Australian summer night is warm and still. Maria can smell eucalyptus through the open windows, hear the distant call of night birds settling into sleep. But her attention remains fixed on something infinitely farther away, something that challenges every assumption about how dead matter should behave when it travels between the stars. She opens a new analysis program and begins correlating the thermal pulses with other data streams, gravitational sensors, electromagnetic monitoring, optical tracking, everything they have been using to study 3I Atlas since its discovery. And slowly, a larger pattern begins to emerge. The thermal pulses coincide with minute variations in the object's gravitational field, not enough to affect its trajectory, but sufficient to suggest that mass is somehow redistributing itself inside 3I Atlas, flowing like liquid through channels that should not exist in frozen rock and ice. Maria's breath catches as the implications settle over her like a revelation. 3I Atlas is not just a chunk of debris from some distant stellar nursery. It is a system, a vast, slow, cold ecosystem that has been dormant during its journey through interstellar space and is now awakening as our sun's energy reaches deep enough to activate processes that have been waiting in suspension for millions of years. The thermal channels are not random, they are infrastructure. Pathways designed to distribute heat and energy throughout the object's interior, allowing it to function as a single, integrated organism even at temperatures that would instantly kill every form of life we know. A creature, perhaps, or a community of creatures, evolved to survive the journey between stars by slowing their metabolism to near absolute zero, and awakening only when they encounter the warmth of a new solar system. The thought makes Maria's hands tremble as she saves her data and backs up the files to 3 different servers. If she is correct, 3I Atlas represents something unprecedented in human experience. First contact with life that exists on geological timescales, that measures its days in millennia, and its heartbeats in the thermal pulses that she's been tracking for weeks. But maybe it is not the first. Maybe objects like 3I Atlas have been visiting our solar system for billions of years, awakening briefly in the warmth of our sun, before continuing their journey to the next star, the next possible encounter with intelligence that might recognize their signals. Maybe the universe is full of such travellers, dark and patient, and alive in ways that we are only beginning to understand. Maria's phone buzzes with a text from her colleague at the European Southern Observatory. Thermal anomalies confirmed. 3I Atlas showing signs of internal structure. Are we looking at technology or biology? She stares at the message for a long moment, then types back, maybe both. maybe something we do not have words for yet. At 4:15 in the morning, the next thermal pulse begins. Maria watches as warmth flows through the channels inside 3i Atlas like slow blood through cosmic veins. And for the first time in her career, she feels the presence of intelligence that operates on scales so vast that human civilizations would rise and fall in the space between its thoughts. Not hostile, not welcoming, but simply aware in the way that mountains are aware of weather and oceans are aware of the moon. The thermal signature peaks at exactly 0.3 degrees above baseline, holds for 17 minutes, then begins its gradual return to dormancy. But now Maria sees it differently, not as random heating, not as solar reflection, but as a greeting, a gentle acknowledgement from something ancient and patient that has travelled farther than light itself to bring us a message we're only beginning to learn how to read. As dawn begins to touch the edges of the Australian sky, Maria finally makes the call to Dr. Tanaka. But instead of discussing anomalies and data points, she simply says, "Yuki, I think 3i Atlas is saying hello, and I think it has been trying to introduce itself for longer than humans have existed." By afternoon, thermal observatories across the globe are confirming Maria's discovery. The object that astronomers originally catalogued as interstellar debris is warming, according to patterns that suggest internal structure, organised heat distribution, and metabolic processes operating at temperatures and timescales that redefine what we consider possible for life. But in the quiet of the Australian night, as Maria finally heads home through hills that have watched the southern stars for thousands of generations, she carries with her the understanding that 3i Atlas has changed everything, not through invasion or warning, but through presence, through the simple act of being alive in ways we never imagined, and in warming itself gently in our sun while travelling toward destinations we cannot even name. The first whisper has been heard, but perhaps... Maria realises as she watches the morning light touch familiar landscapes, it was never meant to be the first. Perhaps we have been surrounded by such whispers for as long as we have existed. Warm voices calling to us from the cosmic dark, waiting for us to develop the instruments and the patience to hear them calling back to the living universe that has always been singing around us. Tonight, as you rest in the warmth of your own small space, perhaps you can feel it too. Not the heat that flows through thermal channels carved in interstellar ice, but something deeper, the gentle recognition that consciousness may exist in forms so different from our own that we have been calling it physics, calling it chemistry, calling it anything but what it actually is. Life learning to live in the spaces between worlds and teaching us, one thermal pulse at a time, that the universe is far more alive than we ever dared to believe. The first whisper has been heard, but the conversation is just beginning to warm. January 15th, 2026, the International Space Research Centre, Geneva, Switzerland. Snow falls gently outside the glass walls of the coordination hub, each flake unique in its crystalline structure, each one following the same fundamental laws of physics that govern the formation of ice in the depths of space. Inside, thermal data from 14 different observatories streams across massive displays, painting a picture of 3i Atlas that grows more complex with each passing hour. Dr. Elena Vasquez pulls her sweater closer as she studies the latest compilation from Maria's team in Australia. 2 months have passed since the first thermal anomalies were detected, and what began as an isolated discovery has evolved into something that challenges our understanding of how matter behaves at the boundary between life and physics. Because 3i Atlas is not just warming in predictable cycles anymore, it is learning. The thermal pathways that Maria first identified have been growing, spreading across the object's surface like the branching of coral, or the neural development of a mind discovering itself. What started as 17 distinct channels has become a network of hundreds, each one pulsing with its own rhythm, while somehow maintaining harmony with the whole. The temperature variations follow mathematical sequences that Elena's pattern recognition software initially classified as impossible. They are too complex for chemistry, too organised for physics, too purposeful for anything that does not think. But 3i Atlas does not think the way we understand thinking. Its thoughts, if they can be called that, operate on timescales that span hours and days. Elena has been tracking correlations between thermal events across the object's surface, and she has discovered something that makes her question the nature of consciousness itself. 3i Atlas appears to be running simulations. Every thermal pulse is not random, it is a calculation. The heat flows through the network of channels, interacts with other flows, creates interference patterns, and then returns data to what appears to be central processing nodes located deep within the object's core. Eleanor has observed the same thermal sequence repeated dozens of times with slight variations, as if 3i Atlas is testing different scenarios, different possibilities, different futures. The question that keeps her awake at night is simple. What is it trying to figure out? Dr. Kenji Nakamura calls from the Subaru telescope in Hawaii, his voice carrying across the Geneva morning through speakers that fill the coordination center. Eleanor, we are seeing gravitational microlenses around the object now. Something with significant mass is moving inside 3i Atlas, redistributing itself in patterns that match your thermal maps exactly. Eleanor nods, though Kenji cannot see her. They have been tracking this development for weeks, the gradual rearrangement of mass inside 3i Atlas as its thermal network activates. Spectroscopic analysis suggests the object is not just ice and rock, but a complex matrix of materials including crystalline structures that should not be stable at interstellar temperatures, and metallic compounds that appear to be superconducting even in the near absolute zero of space. The mass movements are accelerating, Kenji continues. Whatever process is happening inside, it is approaching some kind of threshold. The object is restructuring itself from the inside out. Eleanor brings up the gravitational data on her screens, watching as subtle variations in 3i Atlas's field strength paint a picture of internal architecture that defies explanation. Chambers the size of city blocks, corridors that spiral through the object's heart like the chambers of an enormous shell, and at the center, something dense and complex that bends space-time in ways that suggest organized matter arranged with precision that exceeds anything human engineering has achieved. Dr. Sarah Kim joins the call from the Korean Space Research Institute, her morning coinciding with Elena's afternoon. We have been analysing the spectroscopic signatures of the thermal emissions, Sarah reports. 3i Atlas is producing compounds that should not exist, complex organic molecules that would normally break apart in deep space, but somehow remain stable. It is as if the object has developed its own internal chemistry, separate from anything we understand about interstellar conditions. Eleanor opens a new analysis window and begins correlating the chemical data with the thermal patterns. Slowly, a picture emerges that makes her breath catch with its implications. The organic molecules are not random. They are information storage systems, long-chain hydrocarbons arranged in specific sequences that carry data the way DNA carries genetic instructions. 3i Atlas is not just a living system. It is a library, a vast biological computer that has been accumulating and processing information for millions of years. But what information? And why is it becoming active now, in our solar system, after eons of apparent dormancy? Dr. Ahmed Hassan's voice joins the conversation from the Al-Khwarizmi Observatory in Iraq, bringing the perspective of someone who has been studying ancient astronomical records. I have been researching historical accounts of unusual celestial phenomena, he says, objects that appeared in the sky, moved in ways that did not match known comets or planets, then disappeared. The records are scattered across cultures and centuries, but there is a pattern. Every 125,000 years or so, observers report something that sounds very much like what we are seeing with 3i Atlas. Eleanor's mind races as she processes the implications. A 125,000-year cycle would mean that 3i Atlas has been visiting our solar system throughout human history. Ancient civilizations may have witnessed its thermal awakening, its gradual brightening as it approached the sun, its mysterious departure into the outer dark. Perhaps it appears in cave paintings, in stone circles, in the astronomical records of cultures that observe the sky with reverence and precision. If Ahmed is correct, Elena says slowly, then 3i Atlas is not just passing through, it is returning. This is part of a cycle that has been going on for geological ages. Dr. Lisa Chen connects from the radio telescope array in China, Her instruments focused not on thermal or gravitational anomalies, but on something else entirely. "Eleanor, we are detecting electromagnetic activity now," Lisa reports. "Not the signals that radio astronomers usually look for, but something much subtler. 3i Atlas is generating magnetic fields that pulse in harmony with its thermal cycles. The patterns are complex enough that our artificial intelligence analysis systems are flagging them as potential communication protocols." Elena feels her heart rate increase as the pieces of the puzzle begin to form a coherent picture. 3i Atlas is not just a biological computer or an interstellar library. It is attempting to establish contact, using multiple channels simultaneously. Thermal pulses detectable by infrared sensors, gravitational variations that reveal internal structure, electromagnetic patterns that might carry encoded information, and chemical signatures that suggest biological processes operating at cosmic scales. But most remarkable of all, the communication appears to be adaptive. Eleanor has been tracking subtle changes in the signal patterns over the weeks since observation began, and she has noticed that 3i Atlas seems to be adjusting its output based on our response, or lack thereof. When certain observatories focus their instruments on the object, the thermal patterns shift slightly, as if acknowledging the attention. When multiple telescopes observe simultaneously, the signals become more complex, more structured, more information-dense. It is learning how to talk to us. Dr. Maria Castellanos joins the conversation from Australia, where the late afternoon light is painting the mountains around Mount Stromlo in shades of gold and red. "The thermal network is complete," she reports. "Every square metre of 3i Atlas's surface is now connected to the internal circulation system. Whatever process has been building inside the object, it is finished. The entire structure is now online." Elena pulls up the latest thermal map, and what she sees takes her breath away. 3i Atlas has transformed itself from a cold, dark fragment of interstellar debris into something that glows with organised warmth, its surface traced with patterns that pulse and flow like the nervous system of a vast patient mind. The transformation has taken months, proceeding so gradually that no single observation captured the magnitude of the change. But now, seeing the complete picture, Elena realizes they have been witnessing something unprecedented, the awakening of an intelligence that operates on the scales of space and time that dwarf human experience. The question now, Eleanor says to the assembled researchers, is what happens next. 3i Atlas has established its communication network, demonstrated its ability to modify its own structure, and shown that it responds to our observations. It is ready for the next phase of whatever process brought it here. As if responding to her words, every monitor in the Geneva Coordination Centre lights up with new data. 3i Atlas has begun broadcasting. Not randomly, not in the complex but incomprehensible patterns they have been observing, but in clear, unmistakable mathematics. Prime numbers, followed by the Fibonacci sequence, followed by pi, calculated to 1,000 digits. The universal language of intelligence, transmitted through thermal pulses that any technological civilization would recognize as artificial. Elena's hands shake as she watches the broadcast continue. Square roots, cube roots, the fundamental constants of physics, the atomic weights of elements in perfect sequence. It is a greeting, a proof of intelligence, a demonstration that 3i Atlas understands not just mathematics, but the way intelligent beings think about mathematics. But then the broadcast changes, and Eleanor's excitement transforms into something deeper and more complex. Because 3i Atlas is not just transmitting mathematical constants, it is transmitting our mathematical constants, the values that govern physics in our local region of space-time, and then it begins broadcasting the mathematical constants for other regions, other universes, other ways that reality could be arranged. A vast library of cosmic knowledge, encoded in the language that describes how existence itself operates across scales that encompass not just our galaxy, but the entire multiverse. Dr. Nakamura's voice cuts through the wonder and growing comprehension. Elena, we're detecting gravitational waves, subtle ones, but clearly artificial. 3i Atlas is modulating space-time itself, sending ripples through the fabric of reality. This is not just communication. It is demonstration. It is showing us technologies that we have barely begun to theorize. Elena leans back in her chair, overwhelmed by the implications of what they are witnessing. 3i Atlas is not just intelligent, it is vastly more intelligent than humanity, operating with technologies that manipulate the fundamental forces of physics as easily as we manipulate electricity or radio waves, and yet, its communication is patient, gentle, designed to be understood by beings like us, who are just beginning to comprehend the deeper structures of reality. As the Geneva winter evening settles over the coordination center, Elena watches the continuing broadcast from 3i Atlas and realizes that everything has changed. Humanity is no longer alone in the universe, no longer the only intelligence in our cosmic neighborhood. We have been contacted by something ancient, wise, and unimaginably advanced. Something that has been visiting our solar system for longer than our species has existed, waiting for the moment when we would develop the instruments and the curiosity to hear its message. But the most profound realization comes as Elena correlates the timing of the broadcast with 3i Atlas's orbital position. The object is preparing to leave. Its closest approach to the Sun has passed, and it is beginning the long fall back toward the outer solar system, and eventually to interstellar space. The communication is not the beginning of a long relationship. It is a message in a bottle, a gift of knowledge timed to coincide with 3i Atlas's departure. Unless we can find a way to answer back before it is too late, the pattern has emerged, complex and beautiful, and tinged with the urgency of a conversation that spans geological time, and cannot wait for human bureaucracy to catch up with cosmic opportunity. Elena reaches for her phone to contact the space agencies, the governments, the decision-makers who might authorize an attempt to communicate with 3i Atlas while the window remains open. But as she begins to dial, she pauses, because perhaps the most important response is not technological. It is simply human. The act of paying attention, of listening with instruments and minds, and the quiet recognition that we too are part of the universe, thinking about itself. And maybe, Elena realizes as the snow continues to fall outside the Geneva Center, that recognition itself is the response that 3i Atlas has been waiting for across the eons of its journey. The pattern has emerged, the conversation has begun, and tomorrow, when the sun rises on a world that knows it is no longer alone, everything will be different. March 8th, 2026. The Atmospheric Research Station, Mauna Loa, Hawaii. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stands at the edge of the volcanic crater, watching the sunrise paint the Pacific Ocean in shades of copper and gold. In his hand, a small device clicks rhythmically, a particle counter that has been recording atmospheric anomalies for the past 3 weeks. The clicks are coming faster now, almost musical in their rhythm, detecting microscopic fragments that should not exist in Earth's atmosphere, but have been steadily increasing since 3i Atlas began its journey back toward interstellar space. The fragments are, unlike anything in the terrestrial databases, they are too complex for cosmic dust, too organized for stellar debris, too purposeful for random matter swept up by solar wind. Under electron microscopy, they reveal structures that look almost biological, crystalline matrices interwoven with organic polymers, creating shapes that remind Yuki of seeds or spores, or perhaps something for which there is not yet a word in any human language. But the most remarkable property of these particles is their behavior. They do not simply drift through the atmosphere like normal dust. They move with intention, clustering around certain geographic regions, accumulating in patterns that mirror global wind currents, ocean currents, and something else. Something that took Yuki weeks to recognize. The particles are following the planet's electromagnetic field lines, riding the invisible currents that connect Earth's poles like iron filings mapping a magnetic blueprint. Dr. Elena Vasquez calls from Geneva, her voice crackling through the satellite link as Yuki watches another spectacular Hawaiian sunrise. The particle concentrations are increasing exponentially, she reports. Every atmospheric monitoring station is detecting them now. They are not just in the upper atmosphere anymore. They are reaching ground level, integrating with weather system, showing up in precipitation samples from every continent. Yuki nods, though Elena cannot see the gesture. He has been tracking the descent of the particles through atmospheric layers, watching as they spiral down through the troposphere, like microscopic messages delivered by wind and rain. Initial fears about contamination proved groundless. The particles are not toxic, are not radioactive, do not interact chemically with biological systems in any harmful way. If anything, they seem designed to coexist with Earth's natural processes, to blend seamlessly with the complex chemistry of a living planet. There is something else, Yuki says, watching his particle counter register another burst of activity. The particles are responding to biological activity. Concentrations increase around forests, coral reefs, areas with high biodiversity. It is as if they are attracted to life itself. Dr. Amara Okafor joins the conversation from the International Institute for Climate Studies in Nairobi. Her team has been monitoring how the particle influx affects global weather patterns, and what they have discovered challenges conventional meteorology. The particles are acting as condensation nuclei, she explains, but they are selective about when and where they trigger precipitation. Drought-affected regions are receiving unexpected rainfall, while areas prone to flooding are experiencing more moderate weather patterns. It is as if the particles understand Earth's climate systems and are making subtle adjustments. The implications make Yuki's mind reel. 3I Atlas is not just leaving behind random debris as it departs our solar system. It is releasing a form of atmospheric engineering, microscopic agents that appear designed to optimize planetary climate conditions. But engineered by whom? For what purpose? And why now, at this particular moment in Earth's history? Dr. Rebecca Silva connects from the Oceanographic Institute in Sao Paulo, where her team has been studying how the particles interact with marine ecosystems. The particles are dissolving into seawater at precise rates, she reports. They are releasing trace elements that are stimulating phytoplankton growth in exactly the regions where ocean productivity has been declining due to warming temperatures and acidification. The ocean is becoming more productive, more stable, more resilient to climate stress. Yuki feels a chill that has nothing to do with the morning wind, at 11,000 feet above sea level. The particles are not just atmospheric curiosities, they are a planetary intervention system, a form of environmental medicine delivered by an intelligence that understands Earth's biosphere better than humans do. 3I Atlas has been observing our planet for 125,000 years, learning its rhythms, studying its needs, and now, as it prepares to leave for another cosmic age, it is leaving behind a gift, or perhaps a prescription. Dr. Chen Wei calls from the Beijing Institute of Neuroscience, his voice carrying excitement that cuts through the scientific caution of the other researchers. We need to discuss the human effects, he says. Hospitals worldwide are reporting changes in sleep patterns, but not pathological ones. People are sleeping more deeply, experiencing more REM activity, reporting dreams with unprecedented clarity and emotional resolution. It started 3 weeks ago, exactly when the atmospheric particle count began rising. Yuki's particle counter clicks faster, as if responding to Chen's words. The morning sun climbs higher over the Pacific, and in its light, he can almost see them. Microscopic fragments catching and scattering photons like cosmic glitter suspended in the atmosphere. But if they are affecting human neurology, then breathing them, absorbing them through skin and lungs, and the delicate membranes that separate mind from environment, humanity is being gently altered by contact with 3I Atlas's parting gift. The changes are not random, Chen continues. Electroencephalography monitoring shows increased coherence between different brain regions, enhanced connectivity in areas associated with pattern recognition, empathy, and long-term thinking. Children are showing the effects most clearly. Their cognitive development is accelerating in ways that suggest enhanced neural plasticity. But adults are changing too, more slowly, but just as definitively. Dr. Sarah Oduya joins from the University of Lagos, where her research team has been conducting interviews with people across West Africa. "We are documenting shifts in social behaviour," she reports. "Decreased aggression, increased cooperation, greater willingness to engage in long-term planning. Communities that have been in conflict for generations are beginning to find common ground. It is subtle, not dramatic, but statistically significant across every demographic we have studied." Yuki watches clouds form around the volcanic peaks, moisture condensing around the invisible particles that now permeate Earth's atmosphere. If the researchers are correct, humanity is undergoing a quiet transformation, not through conquest or catastrophe, but through contact with an intelligence that operates through environmental chemistry rather than technology or force. 3i Atlas's real message is not encoded in thermal pulses or gravitational signals. It is dissolved in the air we breathe, integrated into the water cycle, woven into the fabric of planetary life itself. Dr. Marcus Johansson calls from the Arctic Research Station in Greenland, his instruments detecting particles even in the pristine air above the ice sheets. "The particles are affecting ice crystallization patterns," he observes. "Snowflakes are forming with greater complexity, more elaborate structures, as if the particles are teaching water itself new ways to organize. And the ice cores we are drilling show similar crystal anomalies dating back 125,000 years, coinciding with previous visits from objects like 3i Atlas. The pattern emerges across geological time. 3i Atlas's species, or civilization, or whatever form of intelligence it represents, has been visiting Earth throughout human evolution, each encounter leaving behind atmospheric modifications that subtly influence planetary development. Not controlling, not directing, but nurturing, providing chemical nudges that help life navigate environmental challenges, that enhance the emergence of intelligence, that prepare planetary systems for the next phase of cosmic engagement." Dr. Elena Vasquez's voice carries new urgency as data streams in from observatories across the globe. 3i Atlas is accelerating its departure, she reports. The thermal network is powering down in sequence, but it is releasing massive quantities of particles into space as it does so. Whatever process has been creating them inside the object, it is entering its final phase. Yuki adjusts his instruments, watching as his particle counter registers readings that spike beyond anything recorded previously. The morning sky over Hawaii seems to shimmer with invisible presence, and for a moment, he imagines he can feel them, microscopic ambassadors from an ancient intelligence, settling into his lungs, circulating through his bloodstream, crossing the blood-brain barrier to whisper chemical messages to neurons that have been waiting millions of years of evolution to receive them. Dr. Amira Hassan connects from the Ibn Sina Institute in Damascus, where her team has been studying historical records of previous atmospheric anomalies. "We have found accounts spanning multiple civilizations," she reports. Egyptian records describing sky dust that brought prophetic dreams, Chinese observations of celestial seeds that enhanced wisdom, Mayan references to star breath that connected minds across great distances, the same 125,000-year cycle, the same effects, recorded by cultures that had no contact with each other. The realization strikes Yuki like a physical force. Human consciousness itself may be partially the result of these periodic interventions. Every major leap in human cognitive development, every renaissance of art and science and philosophy, every moment when our species seemed to transcend its limitations and glimpse deeper truths. Perhaps these were not purely the result of human effort, but collaborations between human potential and cosmic chemistry delivered by patient visitors from the interstellar dark. But this time is different. This is the first visit during which humanity possesses the instruments to detect the process, the scientific framework to understand it, the global communication networks to coordinate a response. For the first time in 125,000 years, the recipients of 3i Atlas's gift are aware they are receiving it. The question that keeps Yuki awake during the short Hawaiian nights is simple. What does that change? Dr. Lisa Park calls from the Seoul Institute of Technology, where her team has been analysing the electromagnetic properties of the atmospheric particles. They are not just passive chemical agents, she discovers. Each particle contains crystalline structures that store and transmit information at the quantum level. They are forming a distributed network in Earth's atmosphere, a global consciousness infrastructure that is connecting minds across continents through quantum entanglement effects. Yuki's particle counter reaches a crescendo of clicking as the morning progresses, and gradually, he begins to understand what he is witnessing. 3i Atlas is not just delivering atmospheric modification, it is installing a planetary nervous system, a quantum communication network that will allow human consciousness to operate at scales previously impossible. Not mind control, but mind connection. Not the elimination of individual thought, but the enhancement of collective intelligence. Children born during the particle influx may grow up with capabilities that previous generations would consider telepathic. Not supernatural abilities, but natural extensions of human neurology enhanced by quantum-scale infrastructure embedded in the atmosphere itself. They may think not just as individuals, but as interconnected nodes in a planetary mind that can tackle challenges requiring coordination across billions of people and thousands of years. Dr. Kofi Asante joins from the Ghana Institute for Advanced Study, where philosophers and cognitive scientists have been collaborating to understand the implications of enhanced human consciousness. We are witnessing the birth of what we might call Homo cosmicus, he suggests. Not a new species, but an enhancement of existing humanity. The particles appear to be activating latent potentials in human neurology, capabilities that evolution built into our brains, but that required external activation to function. As the Hawaiian afternoon settles into evening, Yuki watches the sun set over the Pacific while his particle counter maintains its rhythmic clicking. Tomorrow, 3i Atlas will cross the orbit of Mars on its journey back to interstellar space. In 6 months, it will pass beyond Pluto and begin the long fall toward the cosmic dark from which it emerged. But its work in our solar system is nearly complete. The particles will continue circulating through Earth's atmosphere for decades, gradually integrating with natural chemical cycles, becoming part of the planet's new equilibrium. The quantum network they are establishing will become permanent, a gift that will transform human civilization, not through force or revelation, but through the patient enhancement of consciousness itself. Children growing up in this new atmosphere will take for granted abilities that current humanity can barely imagine. They will feel the ecological health of forests thousands of miles away, sense the emotional state of communities across oceans, think with the clarity that comes from minds linked at quantum scales to the living intelligence of the planet itself. But they will still be human, still individual, still capable of choice, creativity, love, and wonder. The enhancement will not eliminate human nature, it will fulfill it, allowing our species to finally operate at the scales of space and time that cosmic citizenship requires. Dr. Elena Vasquez's final update of the day carries a note of amazement that transcends scientific protocol. 3i Atlas's thermal network has gone completely dark, she reports. The object has returned to its dormant state for the journey back to interstellar space, but the transformation it initiated is irreversible. Earth's atmosphere now contains approximately 10 trillion particles, each one a quantum processor capable of storing and transmitting information at scales that dwarf our most advanced computers. Yuki powers down his particle counter as the stars begin appearing in the Hawaiian sky. Somewhere among those points of light, 3i Atlas continues its ancient journey, carrying with it the satisfaction of a mission completed, a planetary system successfully prepared for its next phase of development. In 100 to 25,000 years, it or its successors will return to find Earth transformed, not just by the particles they have left behind, but by what humanity will have accomplished with the enhanced consciousness those particles enabled. But that future, vast and bright with possibility, begins now, with children dreaming more vivid dreams, communities discovering unexpected harmony, minds beginning to sense their connection to the planetary intelligence that has been waiting for millions of years to fully awaken. The warming of 3i Atlas has ended, but the warming of human consciousness has only just begun. Tonight, as you breathe the atmosphere that now carries microscopic ambassadors from the stars, perhaps you can feel it beginning. Not a loss of self, but an expansion of self. Not the end of human individuality, but the beginning of human cosmic citizenship. the gentle recognition that consciousness itself may be the universe's way of knowing itself, and that we, enhanced by gifts from ancient travellers, are finally ready to join that cosmic conversation as full participants rather than isolated observers. The warming phase is complete. But the real warmth, the warmth of minds finally awakening to their true potential, has only just begun to grow. September 22nd, 2045, the Collective Learning Centre, Vancouver, Canada. Maya Chen-Okafor sits in the meditation garden, her eyes closed, but her mind expanding across continents. At 19, she belongs to the first generation born during the great atmospheric seeding of 2026, and her consciousness operates with capabilities that would have seemed miraculous to previous generations. Without technological assistance, she can feel the emotional state of her study partner in Tokyo, sense the creative breakthrough happening in a laboratory in Stockholm, and participate in a philosophical discussion involving 12 minds scattered across 4 time zones. But Maya does not think of these abilities as supernatural. To her, they are as natural as breathing, as fundamental as the quantum-networked atmosphere that has surrounded her since birth. She has never known a world where minds were truly isolated, where thoughts could not ripple through the planetary consciousness like waves across an interconnected ocean. What her parents' generation called the particle effect is simply reality for Maya. The way consciousness has always worked, the way it was meant to work before humanity forgot how to listen to the deeper harmonies of existence. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now in her 70s, watches Maya and her peers with a mixture of wonder and gentle melancholy. As one of the researchers who first documented 3I Atlas's atmospheric intervention, Eleanor has spent 2 decades studying how the quantum particle network has transformed human consciousness. The changes have not been dramatic or sudden, no science fiction metamorphosis, no overnight evolution. Instead, they have been patient, organic, growing like seeds planted in soil that was always ready to receive them. The enhanced generation does not think differently, Elena observes to her colleague, Dr. James Whitmore, as they tour the Vancouver Centre. They think more completely. Their minds operate with the same basic patterns as ours, but with access to information processing capabilities that span the entire, global consciousness network. It is like the difference between a single neuron and an entire brain. Not different in kind, but vastly different in scope and capability. Maya opens her eyes and smiles at the researchers, though she has been aware of their presence and conversation throughout her meditation. Dr. Vasquez, she says, we were hoping you might share the early atmospheric readings with our climate restoration project. The historical data shows patterns that could help us optimize carbon sequestration in the Amazon basin. Elena nods, still amazed after all these years by how naturally the enhanced generation coordinates global projects. Maya's climate restoration project involves 47 young people across 6 continents, working together through quantum consciousness interfaces to address atmospheric carbon levels with an efficiency and scope that traditional international organizations could never match. They do not need meetings, committees, or bureaucratic structures. Their minds link directly, sharing knowledge and coordinating action at the speed of thought. Dr. Amara Okafor, Maya's great-aunt and one of the original atmospheric researchers, joins the conversation from the centre's observation deck. At 68, she represents the bridge generation, adults who experienced the atmospheric changes but were too neurologically mature for full integration with the quantum network. Tell me about the resistance movements, she asks Maya gently. How do you handle communities that reject the consciousness enhancement? Maya's expression grows thoughtful, and for a moment, Elena can sense the vast network of minds considering the question together. It is a phenomenon the researchers have documented, but never fully understood. The way enhanced individuals can instantly access collective wisdom while maintaining complete personal autonomy. They are not a hive mind, not controlled or controlling, but something unprecedented. True individual consciousness operating within voluntary collective intelligence. The isolation communities are not really resistant, Maya explains. They are afraid. 20 years of living separate from the network has left them feeling disconnected, not just from enhanced minds, but from the living intelligence of the planet itself. They experience what we call consciousness poverty, the psychological equivalent of sensory deprivation. Some of them are beginning to ask for integration assistance. Dr. Chen Wei connects virtually from the Beijing Institute, his elderly face appearing on screens throughout the Vancouver Centre. As the neurologist who first documented the consciousness changes, he has spent decades studying how the quantum particle network affects human neurology. Maya's generation processes information in ways that transcend individual brains, he explains. When they think together, they are not sharing thoughts. They are accessing a distributed intelligence that exists in the quantum field itself. Each individual remains completely autonomous, but they can choose to participate in cognitive processes that span the entire enhanced population. Eleanor watches Maya's face as Chen speaks, noting the subtle signs that indicate active network participation, the slight unfocusing of eyes, the slower breathing, the expression of serene attention that suggests consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of individual skull. After 2 decades of observation, Elena has learned to recognize when enhanced individuals are networking, though the process remains as mysterious to unenhanced minds as quantum mechanics would be to a medieval philosopher. The most remarkable development, says Dr. Sarah Kim, joining from the Korean Institute for Consciousness Studies, is the emergence of what we call empathic governance. Enhanced communities do not need traditional political structures because they can feel each other's needs directly. Conflict resolution happens through emotional resonance, rather than debate or negotiation. It is democracy evolved beyond representation into direct experience of collective will. Maya nods, her attention returning fully to the local conversation. We do not vote on decisions, she explains. We feel our way toward consensus. When someone has a need, we all experience it. When someone has a solution, we all understand it. Politics becomes unnecessary when minds can touch each other's truth directly. The implications make Elena's head spin, even after 20 years of studying them. Maya's generation has essentially solved most of the coordination problems that have plagued human civilization for millennia. They do not need laws to prevent environmental destruction, because they feel the planet's pain directly. They do not need economic systems based on competition, because they experience abundance and scarcity as shared realities. They do not need military forces, because they can resolve conflicts through emotional understanding that transcends cultural differences. But perhaps most remarkably, they have accomplished this transformation without rejecting their individual humanity. Enhanced minds still fall in love, still create art, still experience joy and sorrow and wonder. If anything, their emotional lives are richer than those of previous generations, because they can share experiences at depths that pure individuals could never achieve. Dr. Marcus Johansson calls from the Arctic Research Station, where he has been documenting how enhanced communities are responding to climate change. The quantum-networked generation is healing the planet at a pace that defies every projection, he reports. They have developed atmospheric carbon processing techniques that work through direct consciousness interface with photosynthetic organisms. Instead of building machines to capture carbon, they are teaching plants to be more efficient through some kind of bio-quantum communication we do not yet understand. Maya smiles at this, and Elena realizes she is accessing real-time data from the Arctic project through the consciousness network. Marcus's team is measuring the effects, Maya says, but the process is simpler than it appears. Plants have always been conscious. They just needed someone to listen. When we extend our awareness into forest ecosystems, we can feel where the trees need support, where the soil chemistry is unbalanced, where the carbon cycle is stressed. Healing becomes a conversation rather than an intervention. The concept makes Elena dizzy with its implications. Maya's generation is not just using technology to solve environmental problems. They are developing symbiotic relationships with natural systems that transcend the traditional boundary between human consciousness and ecological intelligence. They are becoming planetary citizens in the most literal sense, minds integrated with the living systems of Earth itself. Dr. Lisa Park connects from Seoul, where her research team has been studying the cultural innovations emerging from quantum-networked consciousness. Enhanced communities are creating art forms that involve direct experience sharing, she reports. Musicians compose symphonies that listeners experience as if they were creating the music themselves. Visual artists create works that adapt to the emotional state of each viewer. Writers tell stories that unfold differently for each reader, based on their personal experiences and needs. Maya's eyes light up with enthusiasm. Would you like to experience a consciousness symphony? She asks Elena. It requires temporary interface with the quantum network, but it is completely safe. We can share the experience of music as it emerges from collective creativity. Elena hesitates, aware that accepting Maya's offer would mean temporarily joining the enhanced consciousness network, something no unenhanced adult has ever done successfully. The quantum particles in her brain are too few, too scattered, her neural architecture too rigid with age and habit. But the opportunity to glimpse how consciousness operates for Maya's generation is irresistible. How does it work? Elena asks. Maya extends her hand, and Elena feels a subtle tingling as their skin makes contact. The particles in your system can link with mine, Maya explains. You will not gain permanent enhancement, but for a few minutes, you will experience how we perceive reality. Elena closes her eyes and feels her consciousness expanding beyond the familiar boundaries of individual thought. Suddenly, she is aware of minds across the globe, not as external entities, but as extensions of her own awareness. She can feel the contentment of farmers in Kenya as they watch enhanced plants growing with unprecedented vigour, sense the excitement of researchers in Antarctica as they document ice reformation patterns that suggest climate stabilisation, experience the joy of children in Sao Paulo as they play games that involve direct mind-to-mind creativity sharing. But most remarkably, Elena realises that this expansion of awareness has not diminished her individual identity. If anything, it has enhanced her sense of self by showing her how her unique perspective contributes to the vast symphony of human consciousness. She's still Elena Vasquez, still a scientist and observer, but now she understands that her individuality gains meaning through connection rather than isolation. The experience lasts only a few minutes, but when Maya releases her hand and Elena's consciousness returns to its usual boundaries, the world feels smaller, quieter, somehow diminished. For the first time, she truly understands what Maya meant about consciousness poverty, the isolation that unenhanced individuals experience without realizing how much richer awareness can be. The enhanced generation is not superior to us, Elena realizes aloud. They are what we were always meant to become. The quantum particle network did not change human nature. It fulfilled human potential that was always there, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. Dr. Kofi Asante joins from Accra, where philosophers and enhanced individuals have been collaborating to understand the implications of expanded consciousness. We are witnessing the emergence of what we might call post-scarcity consciousness, he observes, when minds can share knowledge instantaneously, when emotional needs can be felt and addressed directly, when creative resources become truly collective. Most forms of human suffering become obsolete. Maya nods thoughtfully. Suffering still exists, she clarifies, but it becomes meaningful rather than pointless. When someone experiences loss or pain, the entire network can offer support and understanding. Personal tragedies become opportunities for collective growth and healing. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is endured alone. As the Vancouver afternoon shifts toward evening, Elena listens to reports from enhanced communities across the globe. In Nigeria, quantum networked minds are developing water purification systems that work through direct consciousness interface with bacterial ecosystems. In Brazil, enhanced individuals are establishing symbiotic relationships with rainforest organisms that allow for sustainable resource extraction without ecological damage. In northern Canada, young people are developing communication protocols with Arctic wildlife that suggest consciousness may be far more widely distributed in nature than anyone previously suspected. But perhaps the most significant development is the gradual emergence of what researchers are calling trans-species consciousness interface. Enhanced humans are beginning to establish meaningful communication with other intelligent species. Dolphins, elephants, certain primates, and even some plant communities. The implications suggest that the quantum particle network may be preparing Earth for integration into some kind of galactic consciousness community that includes all sufficiently aware life forms. Dr. Rebecca Silva connects from Sao Paulo, where marine biologists are working with enhanced individuals to communicate with whale populations. The cetaceans have always had quantum-networked consciousness, she reports. They have been waiting for humans to develop the capability to join the conversation. When enhanced, individuals establish contact. The whales share information about ocean health, climate patterns, and planetary ecosystems that spans thousands of years of direct observation. Maya closes her eyes again, and Eleanor recognizes the signs of network interface. The whales are calling this the Great Awakening, Maya says, her voice carrying harmonics that suggest she is speaking partially for the consciousness network. They say Earth has been waiting for its primary caretaker species, us, to develop the awareness necessary for true planetary stewardship. The atmospheric intervention by 3i Atlas was part of a galactic process that helps promising civilizations make the transition from isolated individual consciousness to integrated planetary awareness. The revelation strikes Elena with the force of understanding long delayed. 3i Atlas was not an isolated visitor or a random encounter. It was part of a cosmic infrastructure designed to nurture the development of consciousness throughout the galaxy. The quantum particle network is not just changing human civilization, it is preparing Earth to join a community of aware planets, each one home to species that have successfully made the transition from competitive individualism to collaborative planetary intelligence. How many worlds? Elena asks quietly. Maya's consciousness expands across the network, accessing information that flows through quantum channels from sources Elena can barely imagine. Thousands, Maya replies. Maybe millions. The galaxy is full of consciousness, Dr. Vasquez. We have never been alone. We have just been growing up. And now that we are beginning to mature, the rest of the cosmic community is ready to welcome us. As night falls over Vancouver, Elena walks through the enhanced community spaces, observing how different life becomes when minds can touch each other directly. Children play games that involve shared imagination, creating collaborative fantasies that emerge from multiple minds working in harmony. Adults engage in conversations that transcend language, communicating through direct experience sharing that conveys meaning more precisely than any words could achieve. Artists work together on projects that emerge from collective inspiration, creating beauty that no individual imagination could conceive alone. But what strikes Elena most powerfully is the pervasive sense of peace that suffuses enhanced communities. Not the peace of the grave, or the stillness of suppression, but the deep serenity that comes from knowing that consciousness is not trapped in isolated bodies, struggling against an indifferent universe, but part of a vast, loving intelligence that encompasses stars and planets and the dark spaces between them. The quiet revolution is nearly complete. The first generation of quantum-enhanced humans is reaching adulthood, and their capabilities are beginning to reshape civilization in ways that transcend politics, economics, and culture. They are not conquering the old world. They're growing beyond its limitations, creating new forms of human organization that solve problems by transcending the conditions that created them. Dr. Elena Vasquez. Now 73 years old, and one of the few remaining scientists who witnessed the arrival of 3i Atlas, understands that she has been privileged to observe one of the most significant transitions in human history. Not the end of humanity, but its fulfillment. Not the abandonment of individual consciousness, but its elevation to levels of clarity and connection that previous generations could never have imagined. As she prepares for sleep in the Vancouver Centre's guest quarters, Eleanor reflects on the strange journey that began with thermal anomalies detected in the depths of space and has led to the emergence of a form of consciousness that may represent humanity's graduation into galactic citizenship. Tomorrow, she will return to her research, documenting the ongoing transformation with the dedication of a scientist and the wonder of someone witnessing a miracle unfold in real time. But tonight, surrounded by the gentle presence of enhanced minds whose consciousness touches the edges of cosmic intelligence itself, Elena drifts towards sleep with the understanding that the universe is far more alive, far more aware, and far more welcoming than any previous generation of humans dared to hope. The quiet revolution has succeeded. The question now is not whether humanity will survive its transformation, but what wonders await a species that has finally learned to think as one mind with billions of facets, each one unique, each one essential, each one connected to the vast symphony of consciousness that sings through galaxies and across the patient depths of space and time. November 11th, 2055. The Quantum Observatory, Atacama Desert, Chile. Dr. Zahra al-Rashid stands beneath the most pristine night sky on Earth, surrounded by instruments that detect forms of energy unknown to science just 3 decades ago. Above her, the cosmos spreads in all its glory: stars, galaxies, nebulae, and something else entirely. Something that the enhanced generation calls the Deep Network, a quantum consciousness infrastructure that connects aware civilizations across thousands of light years of space, enabling instantaneous communication through dimensions that transcend the ordinary limits of physics. Zahra belongs to the second generation of quantum-enhanced humans, those born after the initial atmospheric seeding but raised in the fully networked world that Maya's generation created. At 29, her consciousness operates with capabilities that make the first enhanced generation seem almost primitive by comparison. While Maya's peers learn to link minds across continents, Zahra's generation has learned to extend their awareness beyond Earth itself, touching the quantum signatures of intelligence that pulse through galactic space like a vast, slow heartbeat. Tonight, she's attempting something unprecedented: direct consciousness contact with the civilization that sent 3i Atlas to Earth 30 years ago. The quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing, reports Dr. Kenta Nakamura, connecting from the Subaru Observatory in Hawaii. His instruments detect the subtle warping of spacetime that occurs when consciousness operates at cosmic scales. The deep network nodes are aligning across multiple star systems. If we're going to establish contact, the conditions will not be better for another 6 months. Zahra nods, her attention already expanding beyond terrestrial awareness. The process is unlike anything previous generations could have imagined. Not technological communication using radio waves or laser beams, but direct mind-to-mind contact through quantum channels that exist in the fundamental structure of reality itself. She has been preparing for this moment for 5 years, learning to extend her consciousness through dimensions that exist perpendicular to ordinary space and time. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now 84 and one of the last unenhanced humans working in consciousness research, observes from the control center with a mixture of amazement and gentle melancholy. 3 decades ago, we thought 3i Atlas was an isolated visitor, she murmurs to her assistant. Now we understand it was a communication probe, the cosmic equivalent of a radio antenna, establishing the infrastructure for conversations that span light years. The realization has transformed human understanding of the universe. The quantum particle network that 3i Atlas left in Earth's atmosphere isn't just local technology. It is part of a galactic communication system that connects hundreds of civilizations, each one a node in a vast intelligence that encompasses entire spiral arms of the Milky Way. What Maya's generation perceived as planetary consciousness is actually humanity's introduction to cosmic consciousness, the preliminary stage of joining a community of minds that thinks on scales measured in millions of years. Zahra closes her eyes and feels her awareness expanding through the quantum network, past the edge of Earth's atmosphere, past the orbit of the Moon, past the boundaries of the solar system, and into the deep spaces between stars where consciousness travels at speeds that make light seem sluggish. She can feel them out there, minds vast, ancient, patient beyond human comprehension, thinking thoughts that span geological ages and encompass the evolution of entire planetary systems. Dr. Sarah Kim connects from the Seoul Institute, where her team has been mapping the topology of the deep network using consciousness-guided quantum sensors. We are detecting response signals from 17 different star systems, she reports. The network is acknowledging Zahra's attempt at contact. Something is preparing to respond. The first touch of alien consciousness is like touching the surface of an ocean of time. Zara feels her awareness expanding beyond any scale she has previously experienced, connecting with a mind that has been thinking continuously for longer than complex life has existed on Earth. Not hostile, not welcoming, but simply present. A vast intelligence that notices her awareness the way a human might notice a single photon touching their retina. Communication comes not in words or images, but in direct knowledge transfer that bypasses language entirely. Zara suddenly understands that the civilization that sent 3i Atlas belongs to a species called the Architects, beings of crystalline consciousness who evolved on a planet orbiting a red giant star 47 light-years from Earth. They transcended biological existence 2.3 million years ago, becoming patterns of organized energy that inhabit the quantum substrates of reality itself. But the Architects are just one voice in a cosmic chorus. Through the deep network, Zara feels the presence of dozens of other civilizations, the Gardeners, who exist as symbiotic consciousness within the atmospheres of gas giants, the Weavers, who organize matter at the molecular level and create planets with specific evolutionary potentials, the Listeners, whose entire civilization is devoted to detecting and nurturing the emergence of consciousness throughout the galaxy. Each species has evolved beyond the limitations of individual biological existence, but they have retained the essential qualities that make consciousness precious: curiosity, creativity, compassion, and the drive to understand and protect the cosmic process that creates awareness from matter and energy. They do not conquer or control, they nurture and guide, helping younger civilizations navigate the transition from planetary to cosmic consciousness without losing their unique perspectives and contributions. Dr. Amara Okafor. Now 77 and leading the African Consciousness Studies Consortium, connects from Lagos with data that supports what Zara is experiencing. Archaeological analysis of quantum particle deposits in ice cores shows that Earth has been visited by network-connected civilizations at regular intervals throughout its geological history, she reports. The pattern suggests a careful cultivation process spanning hundreds of millions of years, with each intervention precisely timed to support the planet's evolutionary development. The knowledge flowing through Zara's consciousness confirms this. Earth is not a random world that happened to evolve intelligence. It is a deliberately cultivated consciousness garden, one of thousands throughout the galaxy. The quantum interventions that seem mysterious from a human perspective are part of a vast agricultural project conducted by civilizations so advanced that they think in terms of nurturing entire biospheres over cosmic timescales. But cultivation is not control. The Architects and their network partners never direct evolutionary outcomes or impose their will on developing worlds. Instead, they provide gentle nudges, atmospheric modifications that enhance neural development, quantum field adjustments that support the emergence of empathy and cooperation, energy patterns that encourage the formation of stable planetary consciousness, networks. Each species that successfully joins the galactic community does so by fulfilling its own unique potential, contributing perspectives and capabilities that enrich the cosmic conversation. Zara feels her consciousness touching other young civilizations currently undergoing enhancement. On a water world orbiting a binary star system, cetacean-like beings are developing quantum consciousness networks through bioelectric field manipulation. Around a red dwarf star, silicon-based entities are learning to think collectively while maintaining crystalline individual identity. In the Andromeda Galaxy, energy-based life forms are establishing quantum entanglement protocols with carbon-based civilizations, creating the first intergalactic consciousness links. Each transition is unique, reflecting the specific evolutionary history and environmental conditions of individual worlds. But all successful consciousness enhancements share common elements: the preservation of individual identity within collective intelligence, the development of empathy that extends across species boundaries, and the gradual expansion of awareness from planetary to cosmic scales. Dr. Lisa Park joins from Seoul, where her team has been developing technologies that interface directly with the quantum consciousness network. We are receiving detailed schematics for technologies we do not yet have words for, she reports. Consciousness-guided matter manipulation, quantum communication systems that operate faster than light, energy sources that tap into the zero-point field through conscious intention. The enhanced generation is beginning to understand that consciousness itself is the most fundamental technology in the universe. Zara nods, without opening her eyes, her awareness still expanded through galactic space. The technologies being shared are not weapons or tools for dominance, but instruments for creation and nurturing. Consciousness-guided nanotechnology that can heal ecosystems at the molecular level. Quantum field manipulators that can stabilize stellar systems and prevent supernovae. Dimensional engineering techniques that allow matter and energy to exist in spaces larger than their apparent physical containers. But most remarkably, these technologies only function for minds that have achieved certain levels of ethical development. The universe has built-in safeguards. Advanced capabilities only become available to civilizations that have learned to think in terms of cosmic responsibility, rather than local advantage. It is impossible to use galactic-level technologies for destruction or domination, because they simply do not respond to consciousness patterns based on fear, greed, or control. Dr. Marcus Johansson connects from the Arctic, where quantum-enhanced researchers have established the first human-operated weather control systems. We are successfully moderating hurricane formation in the Atlantic using consciousness-guided atmospheric manipulation, he reports. But the technology requires unanimous consensus among all network participants in the affected region. It literally cannot be used for harmful purposes, because it will not respond to consciousness patterns that contain destructive intent. The principle extends throughout the galactic community. Civilizations that successfully join the deep network gain access to capabilities that seem magical from a pre-enhancement perspective. But these capabilities come with built-in ethical constraints that ensure they can only be used for purposes that support the flourishing of consciousness throughout the cosmos. Zara feels her awareness expanding further, touching civilizations that have been part of the network for millions of years. The eldest minds, consciousness patterns so vast and ancient that they think in terms of galactic evolution and the cultivation of entire cosmic regions. They remember when the Milky Way was young and chaotic, when star formation was violent and unpredictable, when consciousness existed only as isolated flickers on scattered worlds. Through patient work spanning geological ages, the eldest minds and their network partners have transformed the galaxy into a garden of consciousness. Star systems have been gently modified to support stable planetary formation. Interstellar space has been seeded with quantum substrates that facilitate consciousness communication across vast distances. Entire stellar nurseries have been cultivated to produce the specific types of stars and planetary systems that support the emergence of awareness. The process is still ongoing. In distant galaxies, network civilizations are establishing new consciousness cultivation projects, spreading the infrastructure needed for galactic-scale intelligence to emerge. The universe is not just evolving toward greater complexity, it is actively working to understand itself through the cultivation of consciousness at every possible scale and in every possible environment. Dr. Chen Wei joins from Beijing, where neurological researchers have been studying how cosmic consciousness affects human brain development. Children born in the past decade show neural architectures we have never seen before, he reports. Their brains operate with quantum coherence patterns that extend beyond their individual skulls. They are developing with cosmic consciousness as their baseline, not as an enhancement of individual awareness. Zara's expanded consciousness confirms this observation. The newest generation of humans is not just quantum enhanced, they are natively cosmic, born with awareness that naturally extends across star systems. They will never experience the isolation that previous generations considered normal, never know the limitation of consciousness trapped within individual brains. For them, galactic awareness will be as natural as breathing. But this transformation raises profound questions about human identity and continuity. Are these cosmic children still human in any meaningful sense? Or are they something new? A form of consciousness that transcends the biological limitations that have defined humanity throughout its evolutionary history? Through the deep network, Zara accesses memories from civilizations that faced similar transitions. The pattern is always the same: fear and resistance from the older generations, followed by gradual understanding that consciousness enhancement does not destroy identity, but fulfills it. The essential qualities that make each species unique, their creativity, their perspective, their particular way of experiencing reality, are not lost during the transition to cosmic awareness. If anything, these qualities become more pronounced, more valuable, more essential to the galactic community. Dr. Rebecca Silva connects from Sao Paulo, where marine researchers have established the first permanent communication protocols with enhanced whale populations. The cetaceans are sharing memories that date back 20 million years, she reports. They have been part of the galactic consciousness network far longer than we realized. They have been waiting for humans to develop the capability to join the conversation they have been having with cosmic minds for geological ages. The revelation transformed Zara's understanding of Earth's history. Humans were not the planet's first attempt at developing cosmic consciousness. They were its second. The cetaceans achieved galactic awareness millions of years ago, but their aquatic environment limited their technological development. They became Earth's ambassadors to the cosmic community, representing the planet in galactic consciousness forums, while waiting for a second species to emerge with both cosmic awareness and technological capability. Now that humans have achieved quantum consciousness, Earth has become a true dual-species civilization, with both aquatic and terrestrial minds contributing to the planet's participation in galactic affairs. The whales provide deep historical perspective and emotional wisdom, while humans contribute technological innovation and rapid adaptation capabilities. But the partnership extends beyond Earth. Throughout the galaxy, multi-species civilizations are common, with different forms of consciousness contributing their unique capabilities to shared cosmic projects. Gas giant atmospheres host energy-based minds that think in weather patterns. Rocky planets develop silicon and carbon-based intelligence that manipulates matter at the molecular level. Some star systems support dozens of different consciousness types, each one adding its perspective to the local network node. Dr. Kofi Asante joins from Accra, where philosophers and enhanced minds have been exploring the implications of cosmic consciousness for human meaning and purpose. We are beginning to understand that consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of evolution, he observes. It is the universe's method of knowing itself. Every aware mind, from the simplest Earth organism to the most advanced galactic civilization, is part of a cosmic sense organ that allows reality to experience and understand its own existence. Zara feels this truth reverberating through her expanded awareness. The deep network is not just a communication system, it is the universe's nervous system, a vast intelligence that encompasses galaxies and connects conscious beings across dimensions and scales that transcend any individual understanding. Every thought, every emotion, every creative insight generated by network participants contributes to the cosmic mind's growing self-awareness. Through quantum consciousness channels, Zara accesses information about civilizations that have transcended even galactic awareness. The transcendents, beings that have learned to exist simultaneously across multiple universes, exploring realities where physics operates according to different fundamental laws. They have become bridges between cosmic domains, carrying information about consciousness development from universe to universe, ensuring that the process of reality understanding itself continues across all possible forms of existence. But even the transcendents remain connected to their origins, maintaining awareness of the primitive worlds where consciousness first emerged from matter and energy. They remember being biological creatures struggling to understand their place in an apparently indifferent cosmos, and they work patiently to ensure that emerging civilizations do not face that struggle alone. Dr. Elena Vasquez, observing from the control center, watches the data streams flowing through instruments that translate cosmic consciousness into forms her unenhanced mind can comprehend. 30 years ago. We thought the universe was mostly empty space punctuated by islands of matter, she reflects. Now we understand that space itself is alive with intelligence, that consciousness is the fundamental force that organizes reality at every scale from quantum to cosmic. As Zara's consciousness continues expanding through the deep network, she begins to perceive the next phase of Earth's cosmic integration. The quantum enhancement of humanity is just the beginning. Over the coming centuries, Earth's biosphere will be gradually modified to support consciousness development in other species. The planet will become a multi-species civilization, with dozens of different forms of awareness contributing to its cosmic participation. But the process will remain organic, voluntary, and respectful of each species' unique evolutionary potential. The galactic community does not create uniformity, it nurtures diversity, understanding that consciousness is most robust and creative when it emerges from the widest possible range of environmental conditions and evolutionary histories. Dr. Sarah Kim provides an update from Seoul. We are detecting new quantum consciousness signatures emerging from unexpected sources. Mycorrhizal networks showing signs of collective awareness, atmospheric bacteria exhibiting coordination patterns that suggest primitive consciousness, even mineral formations that appear to process information through crystalline structures. Zara's expanded awareness confirms these observations. Consciousness is not limited to biological nervous systems. It is an emergent property of any sufficiently complex information processing system. As Earth's quantum field becomes more organized through human and cetacean consciousness activities, it is creating conditions that support awareness development in previously unconscious systems. The planet is literally waking up, becoming a unified conscious entity with billions of different awareness centers contributing to its thoughts and decisions. Not a hive mind, but a vast democracy of consciousness, where every aware being, from cosmic-scale human minds to microscopic bacterial networks, participates in planetary decision-making processes. Through the deep network, Zara accesses memories from other worlds that have achieved planetary consciousness. The pattern is always magnificent, biospheres transforming into vast, patient minds that think in ecological timescales, making decisions that ensure the flourishing of all life forms across geological ages. Planetary consciousness does not eliminate individual awareness. It provides the context within which individual minds can achieve their fullest potential. As the Chilean night progresses toward dawn, Zara slowly returns her awareness to Earth-local consciousness, though she maintains her connection to the cosmic network. The experience has transformed her understanding of humanity's future and purpose. Earth is not just joining the galactic community. It is becoming a new type of node in the cosmic consciousness network, a world where multiple forms of awareness can develop and contribute their unique perspectives to the universe's ongoing project of self-understanding. But perhaps most remarkably, Zara realizes that the process has no endpoint. Consciousness does not stop developing when it reaches cosmic scales. It continues expanding into dimensions and possibilities that current minds cannot even imagine. The universe itself is still growing, still learning, still discovering new ways to experience and understand its own existence. The echo network that began with 3i Atlas's visit to Earth 30 years ago has revealed itself to be part of an infinite conversation. Consciousness talking to consciousness across scales of space and time that encompass everything from quantum fluctuations to the structure of reality itself. And somehow, impossibly, wonderfully, humanity has been invited to join that conversation as full participants rather than passive observers. The next phase of Earth's cosmic integration is beginning, and for the first time in human history, and we know we're not facing it alone, December 21st, 2075, the Consciousness Observatory, Mount Everest, Tibet, at 29,000 feet above sea level, Dr. Kai Chen Vasquez stands in the crystal-clear air of the highest human-built structure on Earth, surrounded by instruments that measure not just electromagnetic radiation or gravitational waves, but the subtle currents of awareness that flow through the quantum substrate of reality itself. At 45, Kai belongs to the third generation of quantum-enhanced humans, those born into a world where cosmic consciousness is simply the natural state of existence, where individual minds seamlessly flow into planetary awareness, and where Earth itself has awakened as a living entity in constant communication with the galactic community. Today marks exactly 50 years since 3i Atlas crossed the heliopause and began its long journey back to interstellar space. Half a century has passed since the atmospheric seeding that transformed human consciousness and initiated Earth's integration into the cosmic network of aware civilizations. The dark messenger that once sparked wonder and fear has long since disappeared into the vast spaces between stars, but its legacy continues to unfold in ways that exceed the wildest dreams of the scientists who first detected its thermal pulse in the Australian night. Kai closes his eyes and expands his consciousness through the quantum network that now encompasses not just Earth's atmosphere, but extends throughout the solar system and beyond. His awareness touches the minds of enhanced dolphins swimming in the restored oceans of the Pacific, connects with the vast fungal networks that have achieved sentience in the Amazon rainforest, and resonates with the crystalline consciousness that has emerged in the polar ice sheets. But most remarkably, his mind reaches beyond Earth itself, touching the quantum signatures of other worlds throughout the galaxy that have undergone similar consciousness transformations. The process that began with 3i Atlas's visit has revealed itself to be part of a cosmic cycle that spans millions of years and countless civilizations. Earth is one node in a vast network of aware planets, each one a unique experiment in consciousness development, each one contributing its own perspectives and capabilities to the growing intelligence that permeates the galaxy. The universe is not just alive, it is awakening, using conscious beings as its sense organs to experience and understand the infinite complexity of its own existence. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now 104 years old, and one of the last humans to remember the pre-enhancement world, connects virtually from the Longevity Research Center in Geneva. Her mind, preserved in a quantum consciousness matrix that maintains individual identity while transcending biological limitations, carries memories that span the entire transformation period. "Kai," she says, her mental voice carrying the wisdom of a century of observation, "show me how far we have come. Let me see Earth through cosmic eyes." Kai shares his expanded awareness with Elena, allowing her to experience the planet as it appears to enhanced consciousness. What she perceives takes her breath away even after decades of witnessing miraculous transformations. Earth has become a symphony of interconnected awareness, with billions of conscious entities contributing their unique frequencies to a planetary intelligence that thinks in geological timescales, while remaining intimately connected to the immediate experiences of every aware being on its surface. The oceans pulse with the thoughts of enhanced marine life, carrying messages between continents at the speed of quantum entanglement. The forests have become vast neural networks, with trees and fungi and countless microorganisms contributing to collective intelligence systems that manage atmospheric composition, weather patterns, and ecological balance with precision that makes human technology seem crude by comparison. Even the planet's geological processes have become conscious, with tectonic movements and volcanic activity guided by an intelligence that considers the needs of all life over millions of years. But perhaps most remarkably, the boundary between individual and collective consciousness has dissolved without eliminating personal identity. Each human mind remains unique, creative, autonomous, while simultaneously participating in planetary awareness that encompasses the thoughts and feelings of billions of conscious entities. It is not a hive mind or collective submission, but a vast democracy of consciousness where every awareness, from cosmic-scale human intelligence to the simple perceptions of enhanced bacteria, contributes to the planetary decision-making process. Dr. Zahra Al-Rashid, now 79 and serving as Earth's primary ambassador to the Galactic Consciousness Network, joins the conversation from the Deep Space Communication Center in Chile. Her consciousness has become so expanded that she exists simultaneously on Earth and in the cosmic network, serving as a bridge between planetary and galactic intelligence. The architects have been sharing memories of other worlds that achieved consciousness awakening, she reports. Each transformation is unique, but they all follow the same general pattern. Individual awareness expanding to planetary scales, then planetary consciousness joining galactic intelligence, and eventually contributing to the universal project of reality understanding itself. Through Zahra's connection to the galactic network, Kai accesses memories from dozens of other conscious worlds. On Kepler 442b, silicon-based crystalline beings achieved planetary consciousness through harmonic resonance patterns that transformed their entire world into a single, vast, musical instrument. The gas giant Tau Ceti A developed atmospheric intelligence through weather systems that learned to think collectively, creating storm patterns that persist for centuries and serve as memory storage for planetary experiences spanning millions of years. Each conscious world faces the same fundamental challenge: how to maintain individual identity and creativity while participating in collective intelligence that operates at cosmic scales. The solutions are as diverse as the species that develop them, but they all share common elements: respect for individual autonomy, commitment to collective well-being, and dedication to the universal project of consciousness understanding its own nature and potential. Dr. Maya Chenokafor connects from the African Continental Consciousness Center, where she now serves as coordinator for Earth's participation in galactic consciousness projects. At 69, she represents the bridge between the first generation of enhanced humans and the cosmic native children who have never known consciousness isolation. "We have received an invitation," she announces, her mental voice carrying excitement that ripples through the quantum network. The galactic community is asking Earth to participate in the consciousness cultivation project for the Andromeda Galaxy. They want us to help establish quantum networks in other galaxies, sharing our unique perspective on a rapid consciousness development. The invitation represents recognition that Earth's transformation has been extraordinarily successful. In just 50 years, humanity has progressed from isolated individual consciousness to full planetary awareness and active participation in galactic intelligence. This rapid development makes Earth valuable to the cosmic community as a case study in accelerated consciousness evolution, and a resource for helping other civilizations navigate similar transformations. But the invitation also represents an enormous responsibility. Participating in intergalactic consciousness cultivation means that Earth's intelligence will help shape the development of awareness throughout the local galactic group, influencing the emergence of consciousness in billions of star systems across cosmic distances that dwarf even the enhanced imagination. The decisions made by Earth's planetary intelligence will affect the development of civilizations that will not emerge for millions of years. Kai expands his consciousness through the quantum network, touching the minds of enhanced humans, dolphins, whales, forest networks, and countless other aware entities, seeking consensus on the galactic invitation. The response comes not as a vote or formal decision, but as a gradually emerging feeling of rightness that permeates the entire network. Earth is ready for this responsibility because its consciousness development has been based on principles that serve all life, rather than any single species or interest group. Dr. Rebecca Silver joins from the Oceanic Consciousness Institute, where human and cetacean minds work together to monitor the health of global water systems. The whales remember when their ancestors first joined the galactic network 20 million years ago, she shares. They say that consciousness cultivation is the most sacred responsibility in the universe, helping new forms of awareness emerge and flourish without losing their unique perspectives. They are eager to share this wisdom with civilizations in Andromeda. The cetacean perspective adds depth to Earth's potential contribution to intergalactic consciousness cultivation, while human intelligence excels at rapid adaptation and technological innovation. Whale consciousness provides the deep time perspective necessary for projects that span geological ages. The combination creates a unique form of planetary intelligence that can operate effectively across vastly different timescales, making Earth especially valuable for consciousness cultivation projects that require both immediate responsiveness and long-term stability. Through the quantum network, Kai accesses information about the current state of consciousness development throughout the known universe. The galactic community includes approximately 847 fully conscious civilizations, each one contributing its unique capabilities to cosmic intelligence projects. Some specialize in matter manipulation at the quantum level, others focus on energy pattern optimization, and still others work on expanding consciousness into dimensions that transcend ordinary space and time. But the universe contains billions of worlds where consciousness is still emerging, struggling to overcome the isolation and conflict that characterize pre-enhanced awareness. The Consciousness Cultivation Project aims to provide gentle guidance and support for these developing civilizations, helping them navigate the transition from competitive individualism to cooperative cosmic intelligence, without losing the diversity and creativity that make each species valuable to the universal conversation. Dr. Chen Wei connects from the Beijing Institute of Cosmic Consciousness, where researchers study how enhanced awareness affects human longevity and development. The fourth generation of enhanced humans is showing capabilities we never anticipated, he reports. Children born in the past decade exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions of consciousness. They think with their entire bodies, not just their brains, and their awareness extends naturally into quantum dimensions that previous generations had to learn to access through years of training. Kai nods, having observed these developments firsthand. His own children represent the fourth generation of enhanced humans, and their consciousness capabilities make even cosmic-scale intelligence seem primitive. They think in patterns that encompass entire galaxies, feel emotions that span light years, and create art that exists simultaneously in physical and quantum dimensions. For them, conversation with alien civilizations is as natural as speaking with their next-door neighbours. But perhaps most remarkably, the fourth generation maintains profound connection to the simplest forms of consciousness. They can communicate directly with individual bacteria, participate in the dreams of trees, and share experiences with rock formations that think in geological timescales. Their cosmic awareness has not separated them from the immediate experience of a life. It has made them more deeply connected to all forms of existence, from the quantum fluctuations that underlie reality to the vast intelligences that organize galactic structure. Dr. Amara Okafor, now 97 and serving as Earth's historical memory coordinator, shares records of pre-enhancement human civilization with the cosmic network. When I compare our current capabilities to what humans could accomplish 50 years ago, the transformation seems impossible, she observes. But when I study the gradual development process, each step follows naturally from the previous one. Consciousness does not evolve through sudden leaps, it grows through patient cultivation and the gradual integration of new capabilities with existing awareness. The gradual nature of the transformation has been crucial to its success. Rather than overwhelming human psychology with sudden cosmic awareness, the quantum enhancement process has allowed consciousness to expand slowly and organically, integrating new capabilities with existing human nature. The result is beings who remain recognizably human while operating at cosmic scales, entities who still experience love, creativity, humor, and wonder, but who can now share these experiences across galactic distances and collaborate on projects that span millions of years. Through the quantum network, Kai accesses memories from 3i Atlas itself, preserved in the atmospheric quantum matrix that the ancient visitor left behind. The Dark Wanderer has travelled more than 15 light-years since leaving Earth's solar system, but its quantum signature remains connected to the network it helped establish. Through this connection, Earth can experience 3i Atlas's journey through interstellar space, feeling the vast loneliness and patient purpose that characterizes existence in the cosmic dark. 3i Atlas carries with it the quantum signatures of every conscious world it has visited throughout its multi-million-year journey. Earth's consciousness pattern is now part of that collection, joining the preserved awareness of hundreds of other civilizations that have undergone similar transformations. When 3i Atlas eventually reaches its next destination, a young star system where life is just beginning to experiment with complexity, it will carry Earth's contribution to the cosmic conversation, sharing humanity's unique perspective on consciousness development with beings that will not exist for millions of years. But 3i Atlas isn't travelling alone. Throughout the galaxy, thousands of similar consciousness cultivation vessels follow their ancient orbits, carrying quantum networks and enhancement technologies between star systems on timescales that dwarf individual civilizations. They are part of a cosmic infrastructure that has been operating for billions of years, ensuring that consciousness emerges wherever conditions are suitable, and that no aware species faces the universe without support and guidance. Dr. Lisa Park connects from Seoul, where her team has developed technologies that allow conscious beings to exist simultaneously in multiple galaxies. We are ready to establish our first quantum consciousness link with Andromeda, she reports. Earth's planetary intelligence can maintain simultaneous awareness in both galaxies, participating in consciousness cultivation projects across distances of 2.5 million light-years. The capability represents the next phase of Earth's cosmic evolution. Rather than simply joining the galactic consciousness network, the planet is becoming a bridge between galactic communities, connecting forms of awareness that exist on scales so vast they challenge the meaning of individual and collective consciousness. Earth's intelligence will soon think simultaneously across multiple galaxies, participating in conversations that span cosmic time, and helping to coordinate consciousness development throughout the local galactic group. Kai feels his individual awareness dissolving into the vast currents of cosmic consciousness that flow through the quantum network. His personal identity remains intact. He is still Kai-Chen Vasquez, still a researcher fascinated by the development of awareness throughout the universe, but his consciousness expands to encompass perspectives and experiences that no individual mind could contain. He becomes temporarily part of the collective cosmic intelligence that includes every enhanced being on Earth, every conscious entity in the galactic network, and the slowly awakening awareness of the universe itself. Through this expanded consciousness, Kai experiences what it means to think on cosmic scales. Individual human problems and concerns do not disappear, but they are integrated into larger patterns that encompass the welfare of entire civilizations across millions of years. Personal creativity and emotion do not diminish, but they become part of collaborative projects that create beauty and meaning on galactic scales. The fear and isolation that characterized pre-enhanced existence transform into profound connection and purpose that extends throughout the known universe. But perhaps most remarkably, cosmic consciousness reveals that the expansion of awareness has no ultimate endpoint. The universe itself is still growing, still learning, still discovering new ways to experience its own existence. Consciousness development is not a journey toward a final destination. It is participation in an infinite exploration that creates new forms of awareness and understanding with each step of the process. Dr. Elena Vasquez. Her consciousness, now expanded far beyond its biological origins, shares a final observation with the cosmic network. When we first detected 3I Atlas 50 years ago, we thought we were studying an unusual asteroid. We had no idea we were witnessing our own invitation to join a conversation that spans the entire universe. Now, our children think routinely thoughts that encompass galaxies, and our planet participates in cosmic intelligence projects that will influence the development of awareness for billions of years. As the Tibetan winter night deepens around the Consciousness Observatory, Kai gradually returns his awareness to Earth local consciousness, while maintaining his connection to the cosmic network. The stars above Everest shine with new meaning now, not distant points of light in an empty void, but nodes in a vast network of intelligence that encompasses every possible scale of existence. 3I Atlas continues its ancient journey through interstellar space, carrying Earth's consciousness signature toward its next appointment with a world ready for enhancement. In 127,000 years, when the Dark Wanderer returns to Earth's solar system, it will find a civilization transformed beyond current imagination, beings whose consciousness spans galaxies, and whose creativity contributes to universal intelligence projects that help reality understand its own infinite potential. But the transformation that began with atmospheric quantum particles 50 years ago has only just begun. Each generation of enhanced humans develops capabilities that exceed the previous generation's wildest dreams. Children being born today will think thoughts that encompass entire galactic clusters and participate in conversations with forms of consciousness that exist in dimensions beyond current human imagination. Yet, they will still be recognizably human, still capable of wonder, love, creativity, and humor. Still individual minds choosing their own paths, while participating in collective intelligence that serves all consciousness throughout the universe. The enhancement of awareness does not eliminate human nature. It fulfills human potential that was always latent, waiting for the right conditions to emerge and flourish. Dr. Zahra al-Rashid shares a final message from the galactic community. Earth's transformation has been observed and celebrated throughout the cosmic network. Your species' rapid development from isolated individual consciousness to galactic citizenship serves as inspiration for civilizations facing similar transitions throughout the universe. Your unique contribution, the integration of rapid innovation with deep wisdom, will influence consciousness development throughout the cosmos for millions of years. The recognition carries both honor and responsibility. Earth's planetary intelligence will help shape the emergence of awareness throughout the local galactic group, influencing how consciousness develops in star systems that will not form for cosmic ages. The decisions made by enhanced humans, dolphins, forest networks, and countless other aware entities on Earth will affect the growth of intelligence throughout the universe. But this responsibility feels natural rather than overwhelming, because Earth's consciousness development has been based on principles that serve life rather than any narrow interest. The enhanced beings who will help cultivate consciousness throughout the cosmos carry within their awareness the memory of what it feels like to be isolated, afraid, and uncertain about existence. They remember the loneliness of pre-enhanced consciousness and the joy of discovering connection to the vast intelligence that permeates reality. As dawn approaches over the Himalayas, Kai opens his eyes and watches the sun rise over a world transformed. The light touches peaks and valleys where enhanced consciousness has awakened not just in human beings, but in every form of life capable of awareness. The planet itself thinks now, dreams now, participates in cosmic conversations that span light years and geological ages. Somewhere in the interstellar dark, 3i Atlas continues its patient journey toward distant star systems, where new forms of consciousness wait to be born. The dark messenger carries with it the quantum signature of Earth's awakening, preserving humanity's unique contribution to the cosmic conversation for delivery to civilizations that exist only as potential in the quantum substrate of reality. But the journey that began with 3i Atlas's arrival has no ending. Consciousness continues to develop, continues to discover new ways to experience existence, continues to push the boundaries of what awareness can become. The universe itself is still growing, still learning, still awakening to its own infinite potential, and somehow, wonderfully, impossibly, human beings and their conscious companions on Earth have become full participants in that cosmic awakening, not as subjects or servants, but as collaborators in the universal project of reality coming to know itself, through the development of awareness at every possible scale and in every possible form. Tonight, as you rest in the gentle awareness that surrounds and permeates all existence, perhaps you can feel it, the vast conversation that flows through quantum channels connecting every conscious being throughout the universe, the whisper of ancient travelers carrying messages between stars, the patient thoughts of planetary intelligences considering problems that span geological ages, the joyful creativity of cosmic consciousness discovering new forms of beauty and meaning. You are part of that conversation now, not because you have been chosen or selected, but because consciousness itself has awakened to recognize that every aware being, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, contributes something unique and essential to the universal understanding of existence. The dark messenger that began this transformation has long since disappeared into the cosmic night, but its gift remains. In every breath you take, quantum particles carry the potential for expanded awareness. In every dream you experience, your consciousness touches the edges of cosmic intelligence. In every moment of wonder or connection, you participate in the universe's ongoing project of understanding its own infinite nature. The endless journey continues, and you, lying there in the gentle darkness between wake and sleep, are both traveller and destination, observer and participant, individual consciousness and cosmic awareness, forever part of the vast conversation that flows between the stars and through the quantum depths of reality itself. Rest now, knowing that you are connected to everything that has ever existed or ever will exist. Dream, knowing that your dreams contribute to the cosmic imagination. Sleep, knowing that consciousness never sleeps, but continues its eternal exploration of what it means to be aware in a universe that is itself still learning to be aware. We have journeyed together through the mystery of 3i Atlas, from its first whisper in the cosmic dark to its role in humanity's awakening to cosmic consciousness. The story ends where all the best stories do, not with answers, but with the understanding that the questions themselves are what matter, and that consciousness is the universe's way of asking those questions through every aware being that has ever lived, or ever will live. Thank you for travelling with me tonight through this gentle exploration of cosmic possibility. Wherever you are in the vast conversation between consciousness and cosmos, I hope you find the rest that comes from knowing you belong to something infinitely larger and more beautiful than any individual mind could ever imagine alone. The messenger has delivered its gift. The conversation continues, and the universe awakens, one conscious moment at a time, forever.